So, Angelica, who are you?
Okay.
Explain yourself.
So, hi, I'm Angelica. I am a certified intuitive eating counselor, but I also am a social media manager for Raffela. So that's really fun. And yeah, I mean, that's me. I'm 23. I live in New York. I think a lot of people can tell. Raffela always makes fun of my accent. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so cute. But you're not like from New York City. I feel like when people not from where you are here in New York, we think like New York City. But apparently it's like a whole state and there's other things other than just like one city.
yeah, no, I don't live in the city. I live on Long Island and I hate the city. I don't go to the city like ever. I go to the city maybe once a year, maybe at a maximum.
I mean, so I don't even know how we met. We met through like a mutual online friend,
Yeah.
and then that's it. It's been like, I don't know how, did I say 2 years? Has it been 2 years?
Not 2 years
1 year?
yet. April would be 2 years. I just like remember because it's on my resume. But but yeah, so like a year and a half we've been working together.
Oh my God, I love that for us. Okay, so like a year and a half, and that's the longest anyone has ever worked with me ever. Everyone else has quit or been involuntarily told to quit or like removed because it didn't vibe. So I'm thankful that you stuck by me because I am not easy to work with, I don't think. I mean, I'm a kind person. I try not to be like a bitch, but like I have I have problems where forget to do a lot of things, or I don't want to do things, or I procrastinate, or I'm late, or I have like rules in my head that I need to follow that don't make sense out loud. So you've been very accommodating, and I really appreciate
Of
that.
course. I don't think you've been like bad at all, honestly. If anything, you're just like you're really easy to work with because you're just like, "Oh, it's whatever. You can do this. Do whatever you want." So I'm just like, "All right, I'm just kind of roll with it and be flexible." Sometimes you do forget to do things, but it's okay because I could bother you, so that's fine. Like you're not gonna get mad at me or be like, "That's mean." Plus, I'm never mean to you. I just am like, "Hello," like spamming you.
Yeah, no, no, you're never mean to me. And that's the thing. Yeah, I feel like you understand my brain, and you're like, okay, shit, she forgot. I'm gonna send her another email about it, and I'm like, shit, thanks, I'll do it now. And
Yeah.
it's been vibing. It's been working out, and I appreciate it so much, and especially because like you understand a lot of the things that like I talk about, not just on social media, but like in life, like terms of like body image stuff, fat phobia stuff, which I think is also really cool that worked so well. So like here are the questions. Are you ready? Like how did you start your like body image journey? Like what was it, something that like happened that made you just go from like, being part of a society that like tells you to hate yourself and only be skinny and that's it, to like, oh shit, maybe this isn't the way I need to live my life, or like maybe that's really fucked up. Was there any like thing that made you switch, or how did that happen?
So I would say it's just like a series of events. I would say like all through high school, I was a part of diet culture and I was just like, I need to be as skinny as possible. I'm going to wear waist trainers to bed, take fat burners, go to the gym, do the Stairmaster for 45 minutes a day. And like, while some of the stuff, well, just the gym really could have been healthy, I just was like abusing it over and over again. And I think I just noticed that in my head. I knew that it probably was wrong, and I even knew it too because I think low key everyone kind of knows that what their goals are, if it's like to be as thin as possible, is like wrong and unhealthy usually. But yeah, so I just like I've never been diagnosed with an eating disorder, but like I totally had I don't know what I would call it. Maybe anorexia, but I also binged as well. So it was just kind of like a yo-yo scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of like snapped myself out of it. I have no idea like what transpired. I was just like I cannot do this because I hate myself. Like why would I want to hate myself? And so I researched and I was like I'm going to be an inspiration. I just wanted to like try to do something different. And actually, I was just Googling people, just a bunch of things on like where to start, like what self-acceptance was, whatever. And I found a dietitian that was a non-diet dietitian. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but I thought it was interesting. And so I wound up interning with her for over a year just for fun. Like it was unpaid. And I just did it. I know, probably should have been paid,
No,
but
I remember you fucking telling me about that, and I forgot complete like that. I completely forgot that. I remember, yeah, you just like didn't get paid. Did you do her social media? Is that how this all happened?
so no, actually I didn't do her social media. I did do like her blogs and her newsletters,
Mm.
and we just like met every single week, and she kind of like helped me learn about the non-diet world. So I really didn't mind. It wasn't like a lot of work on my end either. That's why I was like, I don't really care if it's unpaid, but it was just an experience. And it like, she's the one who kind of told me what intuitive eating was. And then it went from there.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that is trash about things being unpaid. Actually, the other day I was looking at like things and it was like this really cool thing. I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." But then it's like, yeah, you'll be paid in like experience or like you'll be learning. It was like all this bullshit about like how you're not gonna get money. And I was like, how do I report this? How do I report this as like fucking spam or something? Because that's bullshit. Like, yeah, so I'm sorry you weren't paid for your work. You deserve it. But that's cool that I guess that you it was a chance for you to like kind of step into things more, learn more about it.
Yeah. And then social media is I just like did my own social media. And then I just got more and more experience. And that's pretty much it. Like I just jumped into this world and now I've learned like so many things just working with you. I work with another agency and it's just like, wow, it's a lot.
It's a
Social
lot
media
of
is hard.
shit. Yeah, and people don't understand that. People are like, oh, you just post on the internet. No, you have to think about a lot of stuff. You have to schedule and organize and plan and edit and blah blah blah. It's so much, and that's why I would die without your help. I don't know how do you
Yeah, there's
do.
a lot that's involved. You have to like research things too. And it could take like, it depends how many clients someone has, but it could take like it's a whole full-time job. Like you're working 8 hours a day or more. And then if you have your own account, my God, like at least 10, 12 hours a day.
Right?
I like it. I do like it.
As long as you like it. I mean, I don't even consider so I mean, I was gonna say I don't really consider it my job. I'm like, well, it's part of my entire life is social media, but you're the one who really makes sure I'm not like fucking things around too hard. I don't know what I do, but I like that. And so now then you could so you're doing that and you also do like your coach work stuff too, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to call myself a counselor because no offense to coaches, like coaching's cool. But I had to have my bachelor's degree to even get this certification. And I had to take multiple courses and a test and pass a certification, like a whole program
Hmm.
that is run by two dietitians. So I didn't major in nutrition or anything like that, but I was able to be accepted into the program. So as long as you were like majored in a health science, you could become a certified intuitive eating counselor.
What
So
did you major in?
I majored in sociology.
Did I know that?
I don't know.
Dang. I don't know if I've ever cool, you have a whole ass degree. I don't even know if I don't know if I knew that.
Yes, I have a whole bachelor's degree.
Nice.
I think you did know that because I think I graduated when we were working together. Yeah,
Okay, maybe. Yeah, probably.
okay. It's okay. But yeah, so that's like how it stands out from other certifications and programs. Anyone can be a life coach. They just kind of give themselves that title, but to be a certified intuitive eating counselor, like you have to have a degree and you have to do the tests. So it's
Mhm.
that's why I think it's like at least more legitimate in my opinion. Hopefully that's not controversial, but
I mean, it can be, whatever. It's the internet. Everything's controversial on the fucking internet, as we know.
yes.
Literally everything.
Yeah. No
Okay,
hate.
I
No
wanna
hate to coaches.
no, no hate. I mean, slight hate, depends if they're, like, those life coaches that just wanna, like, steal all your money, then, like, yeah, there is hate, fuck them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you're one of those. But,
No.
like, hmm, I wanna, like hmm, are you afraid of being cringe? Because my fear I'm terrified of being cringe. Everything I fucking do, I'm terrified that it's bad or it's embarrassing or it's shitty or people are gonna look at me and be like, "Oh my god, look at her. That's so that's so embarrassing, that's so cringy." And it makes me wanna die inside, so I don't do the things I wanna do. Are there things, like, whether it's, like, that feeling or something else that's, like, holding you back from, like, either being who you wanna be or, like, doing what you wanna do?
So I don't think, like, I think I'm as cringy as you think you're cringy, if that makes
I don't
sense.
hate myself as much as you hate yourself, Raffela.
No, but I definitely like, there's definitely times when I post things and I'm like, "That is the cringiest shit I've ever seen." But I was like, "But I know people are gonna like it or it'll help someone, even one person." But then, then there's people who DM me and they're like, "That was amazing. Thank you so much." And then I'm like, "Why was that cringy then? Why did I feel that way?" Sometimes I feel confident, but I think a lot of times it's just like I gotta post it. That's it. I'm not gonna even look at it because I think, yeah, I feel like as creators, I think a lot of us are just like insecure about our posts, to be honest.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. You're, like, producing something and then, like, throwing it out into the universe, and you're, like, just waiting, like, "What do you
Mhm.
think? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Tell me." And it's, like, shitty because 'cause you're, like, you don't wanna care what people think of you, but, like, the whole idea of being a creator is, like, yeah, putting
Yes.
out and then, like, receiving feedback, whether it's, like, good, bad, whatever, so it's, like, the balance of, like, yes, I wanna have this, like, parasocial relationship with people, but I also don't wanna, like, let those opinions and perspectives, like, change how I view myself or change, like, my actions or inactions, where, like, that's the part where I get stuck is, like, that fear, whether it's, like, real life people saying it to me or my fear that people could say it to me or could think that way, like, totally stops me in my tracks, and, like, I wasn't even as aware of it until, like, so recently, like, I feel like, oh, like, before I was like, "Okay, yeah, I wanna do that thing. Okay, yeah, I wanna do that. I'll film this. We'll do that." But then it just, like, never happens, and I was trying to, like, "Okay, like, why the fuck is it not happening?" Like, "Okay, I wanna make a podcast, like, but why can't I just, like, literally do it?" I mean, that thing is like, well, I wanna do everything in the whole entire world, and apparently I can't do everything in the whole entire world is what people tell me, which is unfortunate because that's all I wanna do is everything. But it's like, okay, if we can embrace that cringiness or that fear of being, like, rejected or not loved for doing something, but it's, like, valuable for us. Like what you're saying about, like, sometimes when you get, like, those shitty comments on the internet, mostly from, like, men who are like, "Oh, your body sucks. Yeah." It's like, okay, like, you suck, and I have to, like, process that feeling of, like, rejecting the words you're throwing at me, but, like, yeah, there are people who do, like, resonate with your message, and there are people who do see your posts and that, like, helps them, like, actually in their everyday life or helps them in the way, like, they better understand themselves and relate to themselves. So it's like, okay, I guess that's the motivation to keep going and not give up. Hey.
Yeah, I think like a big part of it too is like separating yourself from not using social media to get validation because that's kind of what social media is you post something and you're waiting for likes and comments and maybe something to go viral and that is validation, but then I try to like rewire my brain to be like it's still validation if like I build a small community who likes everything. It doesn't have to be like, oh, 20,000 people liked my post and I'm amazing now. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
either way, the content you post, if you like it, it's still good content. So, like,
Yeah.
separating the numbers from your value, I think that's, like, hard to do for a lot of us because also that's how we might get paid. So that's just like another issue.
That's another thing, right? Like when it's so it's like it's tied to like yeah, how you feel about yourself and your own self-esteem, but it is also like a job for a lot of people, like even for you and I. Like we're both creators and you also work on like the other side of like creating for other people who are then somehow making money off
Mhm.
of that. Like so it's so hard because like even I tell myself that it's like okay like I don't care what people think, like I'm just going to do what I want. But then there's that like nice reminder of like yeah, you can do what you want, but if brands don't like what you're doing, if people don't like what you're doing, how are you going to like somehow monetize what you're doing in order to make it like sustainable so you don't have to go get like an office corporate job and, make money like a real person, you know? So it's like the balance, I don't even know if there is a balance or if there's a way out of it because I guess I see like the big creators, they have to be more palatable and like even I won't even sugarcoat it. Like the world political events that people are not speaking about because they're like this is my livelihood. Like if I fuck up and say the wrong thing, like am I going to be able to feed my family? And like I have a level of like compassion for that,
Mhm.
but then it mixes with your own morals like you and I've spoken about like okay, there's that hand, but like I also wouldn't be able to live with myself or like that's just not who I am as a person to not talk about these things that I feel strongly about or like to speak up for people who are like more marginalized or oppressed. So it's like okay, it's conflicting like hey, I want to use this platform, I want to use this space to like talk about these really important pieces and am I fucking myself over in the process because maybe brands don't want to work with you, people don't want to follow you, and it's like I don't think there's a right I mean, I do think there's like a right answer like long term. I think it's like, I mean, at least for me, it's like just doing the right thing and thinking about our privileges like okay, me losing money versus like other people losing their lives, like what matters more. And I like that's like the baseline for me. But I understand when people are more shy about these things or they're not speaking up. I'm not saying I like respect it or like honor it, but I understand. So it's like a tough call when your likability or how people perceive you, yeah, impacts your life, how you access food or housing or, supports around you. It's a lot. I don't know if you noticed anything on your end, like you being like an American. Like all I see, like I see mostly like Canadian shit because that's where I am. So I don't know if it's different for the Americans, if you guys or your other creator friends like feel the same pressure to either speak up or seeing others not speak up. Like what's it like over where you are?
Yeah, I think it's the same exact thing. A lot of people are like posting saying, I'm sorry, I've been quiet. Like, I'm speaking up now. I had to process this. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't educated. And I think the same thing. I kind of think, morals over followers
Mhm.
always. And that just kind of goes, sounds like kind of basic, but for social media, I think the main thing you need to do is like be authentic, which I know is like a basic word, but being authentic is like staying true to yourself. So if you want to fight for a cause, you should fight for a cause, even if a brand deal declines you or
Mhm.
200 people unfollow you, because you're staying true to yourself. And that's how you're ultimately going to gain followers and likes in the first place, because you are likable. And I just think that's like the back and forth that people go through. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really difficult because I know, like, personally, I've lost friends just from posting stuff. Followers I've definitely lost from posting stuff. And I mean, like, yes, I care, but I guess at the end of the day, like, it's more important about like what's going on in the world. And I
Mhm.
guess social media is like at the bottom of the list compared to the tragedies that are going on.
Right? Yeah, I think you articulated that so well. And it's like I think we can the disadvantages or the hardships, not hardships, but like the shitty things that come from like speaking up and still acknowledging like, okay, and yeah, that's not as bad as like the things other people in the world are actually dealing with. So if we can use our communities, our platforms, whatever we have to try to make like the smallest bit of difference, then hopefully that's, you know, validating for ourselves. And maybe that's the piece of like, you know, social media being so much about like wanting validation from other people, and maybe being able to stay true to ourselves during like those really hard times. Ugh, this sounds so like therapeutic, and my therapist would be so fucking happy to hear this, and that makes me want to like barf. But maybe there's like something low key about when you stay true to yourself, then that can have like inner validation or something
Yes,
stupid like that.
something very therapy like that.
You know what I mean? Like that's something my
It's
therapist would
true.
fucking say, and I'd be like, "Bleh, don't say that."
It is true though. Like if only we listened to our therapists, right?
I know.
I know. It's like if I listened to everything she said, I guess I would be better.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't need the fucking therapy, but yeah, I guess it's like something for me at least is I'm like, okay, I need to repeat this shit like 100 million times because I'm like, I mean, we're getting closer to it. We touch on it, we're like, okay, yeah, that feels good, that feels right. But then we get lost in the mix of everything, and we just slowly bring ourselves back to it. And thankfully, we could like remind each other, you know, when I'm spiraling, you could be like, it's okay, Raffela, because you know you're being authentic and true to yourself, and like that's the work that should be like the most meaningful to us, even though we love like a good like try on haul or like silly video of like my dog. Like, you know, I guess being ourselves is like the coolest thing we can do. Ew, that sounded gross. I don't like that. Blech.
That was cringe. No,
That
I'm
was
kidding.
so cringy. I'm like, I can't do this. This is not like an after school like special about like be true to yourself, don't do drugs, kids.
I think though, like my favorite content of yours is when you're talking about like body positivity and bringing light to the marginalized bodies and just marginalized people in general, because I think that's like I feel like I know you have other niches, obviously, but I feel like that's your main message. Like you care about that so much more than other things, which is great because I just don't think a lot of plus size creators care about enough.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. And I think I've sometimes, like, especially lately, I've been trying to fall more into like what everyone else is doing. Like, yeah, it's fashion. Like, I love clothing and stuff, but like to a point, like I kind of like the meaningful like activism side of fashion of like, yeah, making fashion more accessible to all bodies, or why isn't fashion accessible to all bodies? And so it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to like put on a cute outfit and maybe people will like me and I can be a cute influencer. But I know having those hard conversations are good and stuff and whatever, and we'll keep doing it. And hopefully, this space, this video podcasty, whatever space this is, can be like a time that we can like dive more into this stuff, or, you know, be able to have more of those like authentic conversations with a human that we can like share and spread around.
I think you'll get there. I think that's like your whole point and like your whole passion. So I feel like at some point maybe the podcast will be it.
Yeah, do you think? I mean, like, and it's hard. Like, everyone has a podcast. Everyone and their dog has a podcast. But I was telling myself like earlier today when I was like thinking about doing this, I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be a top chart. It doesn't. You don't have to be known as a podcaster. You don't have to win anything. No one has to even know you have a podcast. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you know, I get in my head. I'm like, oh, things have to be like good. Is that your dog barking? I love it. Like, things don't have to be like amazing and spectacular top charts in order for it to be good and like worthwhile. And I have a hard time with that because I want things to be good. I don't want to do something if it's not good because that sounds horrible. So I'm trying to like release that. Like, we can make a shitty podcast, and if one person listens to it, woohoo. If not, you and I, we did some therapeutic shit, and maybe that's good enough, you know?
Well, you know what? 3 people will listen to it.
Okay, yeah, 3. We can do
So
3.
But no, I think that's the only way is when you start something, like you have to be shitty at it as at first. Like I scrolled down my Instagram the other day and I was like, ew, why did I post any of this? But I'm keeping it up because it just shows like our progress. Same with the podcast. Like, yeah, this one might be shitty at the end of the day. Maybe not. Maybe people will like it. But like your 100th podcast might be really, really good. It might reach number one. Like, you don't know. You never know.
You never know. You never know. Oh my God. You're right. You're right. And I feel like this has been very good, and I love and appreciate you very much. And we haven't even met in real life, but we're going to in April. I keep
Yes.
forgetting. I forgot. I was like, oh shit, I need to book you a flight. But I need to
Yeah.
book you a flight to Palm Springs so we can go chill in Palm Springs and hang out and take pictures. But thank you for joining me on this random ass video podcast thing. I appreciate it. I don't know where it's going to end up. Maybe it'll just sit in my Google Drive forever. But I'm going to end it now. Do you have any final words you want on this?
Thank you for having me. Obviously.
Okay, great. Good. Nice.
Good. Good ending.
Good ending.